Hello, hello. Welcome back to Hustle Over Everything. I'm Alex, host and owner of the show. Today we're talking about intellectualism in the Black culture. Now, recently, you might have seen it, Joe Budden and the Nativeland Podcast are going back and forth between each other. And for the first time in years, Charlemagne the God and Joe Budden have defended each other.
I can't believe I'm on here defending the Joe Budden Podcast.
This, for podcast fans like myself, this was a different experience because for years there's been a rivalry between Joe Budden and Charlemagne the God, two opposite sides of the podverse, and they are together on the same accord for the first time in years, it feels like. And it's all around this specific topic around intellectualism in the Black culture. For those who don't know, Tiffany on the Nativeland Podcast had a podcast where she was specifically using Queen's Flip, a member of the Joe Budden Podcast, to highlight the anti-intellectualism of Black Americans in America. And this was done, in my opinion, in semi-poor taste, but a good jump-off point and spark for a conversation that needs to be had. What was interesting about it was that her job is a journalist. She functions in using the same qualities of a journalist in her content. But from looking deeper into her conversation, it didn't feel like she took the time to research the person she's using as a jump-off point for the conversation to start. And I think this was the catalyst that started the rupture between the two factions within the Black community. Because Joe Budden's audience is a huge factor in the Black community right now. He has a massive audience, a multi-million-dollar business that's all around Black culture. Having Mark Lamont Hill there, a new addition, and somebody who is an astute, educated person, has been a monumental upgrade in the cachet of the podcast. So it makes a lot of sense for them to now be on the radar of a Nativeland Podcast. So what does this all mean? Why am I talking about this? Why is it relevant? I think the biggest part of this conversation and why it's so relevant is because of the way Tiffany came across and how Angela Wright came across, because it highlights a key fundamental challenge in the Black community in North America, where when people get educated, people think that because I'm educated, I can no longer associate and converse with people that do not have the education levels that I do. And because Mark Lamont Hill was on the Joe Budden Podcast getting at Queen's Flip, people thought that this is a low view for Mark Lamont and he should not be on that show. What's interesting about this is the role Mark has on the show. Mark plays an integral role where he is the go-to person when it comes to topics of substance, topics of political nature, topics of intersectionality, gender. So when men want to have an eloquent discussion, a curiosity-based discussion, they refer to him. What's interesting, though, is how now that he's there, now that he's having conversations, the other intellectuals, like the Nativeland Podcast, like the Tiffany's, like the Amanda, they are against that. And what Charlemagne brought up on the episode, I'll see if I can play it right here for you, is that it's not about calling people out, it's about calling people in.
I can't believe I'm on here defending the Joe Budden Podcast, right? but I guess the issue is I don't think fools go together at the Joe Budden Podcast. Like, I don't think anybody in that room...
I didn't say that, for the record.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in that room is a fool. And I also feel like, we should be happy that people like Mark Lamont Hill want to be on big black platforms. I think that's the biggest problem I have right now is that, we tend to knock, certain platforms when what we should be doing is infiltrating those platforms.
So now that you see Charlamagne talk about Joe Budden for the first time in a positive light, I think we are really landing on what went wrong with Kamala Harris's campaign. Because Kamala Harris continuously saw herself as a high-ranking, intelligent person, it would behoove her to go on platforms where it could be more dim-witted, more lowbrow, because half of America is lowbrow. What is the reading level of average Americans? Now, Andrew Gilman, another person on the podcast, had an amazing point. You need to meet people where they are. Let's keep it a buck, people. The average reading level of most Americans is not that high. So meeting people where they are, whether it be on a Flagrant, on a Joe Rogan, on a Theo Vaughn, that's what Trump did. And that's what got him elected, going on those platforms. Aiden Ross. I'm not saying Kamala should be on Aiden Ross, but I'm saying she needs to meet people where they are. And having that perspective of being able to be flexible and communicate to people where they are in life and not saying this is only for the highbrow community. That's what was missing from her campaign. And I think that's a core thing that's separating Black people when it comes to having conversations that matter. I'm curious to get what you think about this. I'm really passionate about this because I really feel like as someone that's grown up in the hood, but also gone to private school, I've seen both sides, and I've seen where people turn their nose up with people who have good points and are curious. And it just causes a fundamental disdain instead of curiosity, positive environment. So I think this is an opportunity for Black people to really look at each other and be like, am I being the person who is calling people in or somebody who is literally just shooing people off because of the optics of what it looks like, I think it's something that we should definitely consider talking about and highlighting. But what do you guys think? I would love to know. It's a quick side note. We are in Wit Media Studios, so if you are in Toronto and are looking for a place to record, feel free to holler at us. And while you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. We're having conversations like this continuously. This is day 3 of the Podathon, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, y'all. Peace.